Hello, hello. Uh,
Hello,
my name's Waldo.
and I, as always, am Modular.
Oh, yeah. We're going to watch the State of the Union tonight. It's going to be very exciting. I'm going to get chat started just in case. Wait, that's not right. There it is.
And I, as always, am Modular.
There we go. And then I pop that into here. Okay, then it pops up right there. Oh, it didn't pop up right there. Wild. Wonder why that didn't pop up. Hmm. I've made a terrible mistake, but I can still see chat. Weird. It's not on screen though. I wonder what I did wrong. Wait, there's a button. There's always a button. And here, and close that, and I think we're ready to go. It'll start here in just a few minutes. They're always a little late. I've been watching them for years, but they're always a little late.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh, they're always a little late.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Trump did it too.
They always do. Put chat up over here so I can see it. Let's see. Anything exciting that we expect? I don't actually expect it to be that exciting.
Probably not.
It's You know what I find helps is that if I listen to Biden at 1.5 speed, he sounds a lot better. Just sounds a lot better. He's not like old. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, this guy's got something going on. Okay, great.
a lot of the slower talkers sound a lot better if you speed them up.
And I got my volume on. Um,
He's always been kind of a slow talker, though. He does it because he has a bad stutter that
yeah,
shows up if he tries to speak any faster than he does.
yeah, it's tricky. I get stuck saying or bleh, and then my brain tries to catch up with what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I try not to say those things, but then it results in me taking long pauses right in the middle of my sentences. It's something that I think I notice more than anybody else does when I
Mhm.
watch the streams, but definitely is there.
Yeah, I try not to. But one time I really stopped doing it, but then other sounds started coming out, and I was like, wait, this is bad. Um, they shot down the balloon. Did you see that?
I did.
Very sad. I loved the balloon.
You communist,
Just kidding.
you Chinese lover.
hmm One of the Chicom, uh, what did old Rush Limbaugh used to call them? The red Chinese Chicoms or something like that. I don't remember. Yeah.
I've heard both.
But I mean, just regular spy stuff. Nothing new. Pretty typical. I mean, we got tons of spies over there. They got tons of spies over here. That's how it goes. Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, I think that it was definitely. Well, I guess we can talk about it over the weekend.
People, yeah. Well, I mean, it happened. I mean, honestly, the minute I finished, we finished stream on Saturday, it's gonna be old news. I didn't even want to put the video up earlier. What was it? Monday. I think I posted it Monday night because I was like, oh man, it's already really old.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, I
But
mean,
it had some
so
funny jokes in it, so I'm sorry. I
I
posted it
guess we're
up
still
anyway.
waiting on Biden to show up.
Yeah, it's gonna be a few minutes. Good
Yeah.
lord, the hell is she wearing?
Which one?
The bright yellow lady with the wings. What in the hell?
Wow. Who
That's
is that?
Kristen Cinema's who that is.
Okay.
Giant shouldered sleeve things? I don't. Wizard sleeves. I don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah, that is definitely out of place.
Well, it's. See, men don't get to wear bright purple suits. It's sexism, I tell you. The woke media's gone too far.
I mean, they could. I'm sure if they wanted to.
You think they could? I don't know. There are a bunch
I
of
really don't know.
rules. There are a bunch of rules for that place and those things. And it wouldn't
There's a
surprise
purple.
me.
Oh, that's on a woman too.
Yep.
Damn. Hey, there's another one. Bottom right. Purple
All
suit.
right. That's a lady.
No, no, that wasn't a guy. That was a guy.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Or maybe it's just the cameras because some of these suits look a little more purple than they're supposed to.
Oh, I think it's just an off blue or something like that. If there is a guy in there wearing purple, I would suspect that it's just an old suit that's faded or something.
Man, now I'm looking for it.
Yeah, this guy right here. He's a little faded.
I think that's the guy I saw.
Because I thought you were talking about like purple over here. That was
No.
the lady there, and
Oh, he's not even one of the congressmen. He's just a photographer.
yeah, that guy's a photographer. Yeah.
Interesting choice of ties for some of these dudes.
You think he's gonna tear up the speech afterward?
Probably not. He has class.
Oh, okay.
God, he's gonna make such an ass of me if he does it.
Well, he can't just do that because then he'd be copying. He's gonna have to come up with his own signature kind of thing.
Whip out his dong and piss all over it. right in the middle of the State of the Union.
I don't. Maybe I don't think so. Maybe he'll just grab it and bring it behind him, and then bring it back.
It's a little browner than it was before.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Seems unlikely though.
Schumer with the very blue
Yeah.
outfit there.
I bet there is some sort of rule where it has to be black or blue. But nobody can tell the women not to wear a giant banana peel.
I guess not. Hopefully you didn't just hear that.
No, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, I
shouldn't
burped.
have said anything. Yeah. We'd have never known. You can text the president. Oh my goodness. What should I tell him?
MAGA. 420 YOLO.
MAGA 420 YOLO. Ask him if he's got a policy for BOFA.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Are you cheering him for picking up a folder?
Yeah. That's how these things go. It's not super exciting. Sometimes it's interesting, but yeah, you'll watch as one side entirely stands up and cheers, and all the other side sits completely still.
Yep.
Oh,
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor
all right. How's
to
the
present
audio?
to you the President
Good.
of the United States.
Okay. Because I don't think it can get any louder. That's all you're gonna get.
Yeah, I'm able to change the stream volume and your volume independently.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Speaker. Thank you. You can smile. It's okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Please. Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, good to see you guys up there.
that's a lie.
Members of Congress.
What? Not a second
was-
gentleman? Oh,
No,
what
you
was
said
it?
good to see you.
Good to see you. No.
Fact checking in real time.
Okay, good. Not good to see you. I saw you yesterday. Like,
Well,
hell?
Chief Justice, I may need a court order. She gets to go to the game tomorrow, next week. I have to stay home. Got to work something out here. Members of the Cabinet, leaders of our military, Chief Justice, Associate Justice, and retired Justice of the Supreme Court, and to you, my fellow Americans.
Hey, he's talking to
I'll,
us.
start tonight by congratulating the
Oh my
118th
God.
Congress and the new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
God, we're back.
Yep.
Speaker, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you. And I want to congratulate the new leader of the House Democrats, the first African-American minority leader in history, Hakeem Jeffries. He won in spite of the fact I campaigned for him. Congratulations to the longest serving leader in the history of the United States Senate, Mitch McConnell. Where are you, Mitch? congratulations to Chuck Schumer, another, another term as Senate Minority Leader. I think you, only this time
I'm
you
back.
have a slightly bigger majority, Mr. Leader. You're the
Welcome
majority
back.
leader. About that much bigger? Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I want to give special recognition to someone who I think is going to be considered the greatest speaker in the history of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi.
Damn, throwing shade at McCarthy right off the bat.
Well, he's only been in the job for a week.
Didn't he also just say something about, maybe your majority could be that much bigger?
The story of America is a story of progress and resilience, of always moving forward, of never, ever giving up. It's a story unique among all nations. We're the only country that has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it. Look, folks, that's what we're doing again. 2 years ago, the economy was reeling. I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs. More jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years, because of you all, because of the American people.
Yes, we lost a lot of jobs
They
during
were all
COVID.
gone. Yep.
They were all gone. They came back. Yeah, great.
And 2 years ago, COVID had shut down, our businesses were closed, our schools were robbed of so much, and today, COVID no longer controls our lives. And 2 years ago, democracy faced its greatest threat to the Civil War, and today, though bruised, our democracy remains unbowed and unbroken.
Unbent, unbowed, unbroken. He's siding with the Dornish.
As we gather here tonight,
Apparently.
we're writing the next chapter in the great American story, a story of progress and resilience. When world leaders ask me to define America, and they do, believe it or not, I
They
to
don't.
define it in one word, and I mean this: possibilities. We don't think anything is beyond our capacity. Everything is a possibility. We're often told that Democrats and Republicans can't work together. But over the past 2 years,
It's a
we've proved
possibility.
naysayers wrong. Yes, we disagreed plenty. And yes, there were times when Democrats went alone. But time and again, Democrats and Republicans came together to defend a stronger and safer Europe. We came together to pass once in a generation infrastructure law, building bridges connecting our nation and our people. We came together to pass the most significant law ever, helping victims exposed to toxic burn pits. And in fact,
Toxic burn pits? I forget.
it was important.
Oh, the military was destroying
And in fact,
stuff in
I
burn
signed
pits,
over
and then the fumes were giving
300
some of the people,
bipartisan
soldiers
pieces of
around,
legislation since becoming president.
Gotcha.
From reauthorizing
cancer
the
and
Violence
lung
Against
cancer and
Women
lung
Act,
damage and stuff like that.
the Electoral Count Reform Act,
Gotcha.
the
When the
Respect for
government said,
Marriage
"Hey,
Act
we should
that
pay
protects
for
the
that,"
right to marry the person you love.
and some
And
people
my
said no.
Republican friends, if we could work
Yeah.
together the last Congress, there's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well. I think folks, you all are as formed as I am, but I think the people sent us a clear message. Fighting for the sake of fighting, power for the sake of power, conflict for the sake of conflict gets us nowhere.
How dare you?
That's always been my vision of our country, and I know it's many of yours. To restore the soul of this nation, to rebuild.
We're
the
here to watch
backbone
you
of
kill each
America,
other. Shut up.
I know, right?
the middle class.
Bring out
To
the
unite the
blood
country.
sports.
We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view. For decades, the middle class has been hollowed out in more than, and not no one administration, but for a long time. Too many good-paying manufacturing jobs move overseas. Factories closed down. Once thriving cities and towns that many of you represent became shadows of what they used to be.
Careful,
Along
Biden.
the
You're sounding a
way,
lot like Trump
something
right
else
now.
we lost. Pride, our sense of self-worth. I ran for president to fundamentally change things, to make
Say
sure
it.
our economy works for everyone.
Say, make America
All
great again.
feel that pride in what we do. To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. Because when the middle class does well, the poor have a ladder up, and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well. I know a lot of you always kid me for always quoting my dad, but my dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. He really would say this. It's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. Well, folks, so let's look at the results. We're not finished yet by any stretch of the imagination, but unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low. A near record unemployment. Near record unemployment for black and Hispanic workers. We've already created, through your help, 800,000 good-paying manufacturing jobs, the fastest growth in 40 years. And where is it written? Where is it written that America can't lead the world in manufacturing? And I don't know where that's written. For too many decades,
written in NAFTA.
Jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Folks, inflation has been a global problem because the pandemic disrupted our supply chains, and Putin's unfair and brutal war in Ukraine disrupted energy supplies as well as food supplies, blocking all that grain in Ukraine. But we're better positioned than any country on earth right now. But we have more to do. But here at home, inflation is coming down. Here at home, gas prices are down $1.50 from their peak. Food inflation is coming down, not fast enough, but coming down. Inflation has fallen every month for the last 6 months. I'll take home.
Yeah, in spite of you.
Up. Additionally, over the last 2 years,
food inflation is all just the company screwing us over.
Applied to start new businesses. 10 million.
There's no reason for the eggs to be that expensive, except for the company wants them to be that expensive.
Well, the only reason inflation's coming down is because the Fed has been raising the federal funds rate so much, and the Fed does that independently of the president.
And Madam Vice President, I want to thank you for leading that effort to ensure that small businesses have access to capital and the historic laws we enacted that are going to just come into being. Standing here last year, I shared with you a story of American genius and possibilities. Semiconductors, small computer chips the size of a fingerprint that power everything, from cell phones to automobiles and so much more. These chips were invented in America. Let's get that straight. They were invented in America. We used to make 40% of the world's chips. In the last several decades, we lost our edge. We're down to only producing 10%. We all saw what happened during the pandemic when chip factories shut down overseas. Today's automobiles need 3,000 chips, each of those automobiles. But American automobiles couldn't make enough cars because there weren't enough chips. Car prices went up, people got laid off. So did everything from refrigerators to cell phones. We can never let that happen again. That's why we came together to pass the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act.
Yep.
To build more here?
Yeah, to subsidize American manufacturing of semiconductors. Good bill. Need more.
I know I've been criticized for saying this, but I'm not changing my view. We're going to make sure the supply chain for America begins in America. The supply chain begins in America. We've already created 800,000 new manufacturing jobs without this law, before the law kicks in. With this new law, we're going to create hundreds of thousands of new jobs across the country. And I mean all across the country, throughout not just the coast, but through the middle of the country as well. That's going to come from companies that have announced more than $300 billion in investment in American manufacturing over the next few years. Outside of Columbus, Ohio, Intel is building semiconductor factories on 1,000 acres. literally a field of dreams. It's going to create 10,000 jobs, that one investment. 7,000 construction jobs. 3,000 jobs in those factories once they're finished. They call them factories. Jobs paying
call
an
them
average
factories.
of $130,000
Yeah.
a year.
Because they're factories.
Many do not require
They're
a college.
manufacturing a thing.
That is what they are. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, Intel is planning on building a handful of plants in the United States,
That's okay. That's good.
which is good, except that Intel is like the worst chip manufacturer.
Search for opportunity. It's just getting started. Think about the new homes, the small businesses, the medium-sized businesses. So much more that's going to be needed to support those 3,000 permanent jobs and the factories that are going to be built. Talk to mayors and governors, Democrats and Republicans, and they'll tell you what this means for their communities. We're seeing these field of dreams transform to the heartland. But to maintain the strongest economy in the world, we need the best infrastructure in the world.
I don't think I can survive another infrastructure week.
As you all know,
Oh, what?
I don't think I can survive another infrastructure week.
we used to be #1 in the world.
I don't understand.
It's an old joke that
We've sunk to
Oh.
13th in the world.
presidents always call it
United States of
infrastructure
America,
week.
13th
And then
in the world
it keeps
in
happening over and over again. And then shit goes wrong, and then the
Now
internet
we're
makes
coming
jokes
back because
about
we
all the
came
things that went
together
wrong
to
during
pass the
infrastructure
bipartisan
week.
infrastructure law, the largest investment in infrastructure since President Eisenhower's interstate highway system. And folks,
I guess the military guys aren't supposed to stand for anything.
No.
projects, including major airports from Boston to Atlanta to Portland.
The
Projects that are going to put
Supreme
thousands
Court
of
doesn't
people to
either.
work rebuilding our highways,
Right.
our bridges, our railroads, our tunnels, ports, airports, clean water, high-speed internet, all across America. Urban, rural, tribal. And folks, we're just getting started. We're just getting started.
I didn't hear him say rail, but
And I mean it sincerely.
I wasn't actually sure what he was saying.
I want to thank my Republican friends who
high-speed
voted
rail
for the
would be a
law,
good idea. But
and my Republican friends who voted against it as well. But I still get asked to fund the projects in those districts as well. But don't worry. I promised I'd be a president for all Americans. We'll fund these projects. And I'll see you at the groundbreaking.
is this lady throwing shade at the Republicans? I think she is.
Look,
Only if Biden is.
this law will further
Some of those hand
not
motions are real
only
interesting, though.
projects like Brent Spence Bridge in Kentucky over the Ohio River, built 60 years ago, badly needed repairs, one of the nation's most congested freight routes, carrying $2 billion worth of freight every single day across the Ohio River. And folks, we've been talking about fixing it for decades, but we're really finally going to get it done. I went there last month with Democrats and Republicans and from both states to deliver a commitment of $1.6 billion for this project. And while I was there, I met a young woman named Sarah, who's here tonight. I don't know where Sarah is. Is she up in the box? I don't know.
Oh,
Sarah,
this is
how are
the
you?
part we're into. Okay.
Well, Sarah, for 30 years,
Here's the down-home American that he met.
for 30 years,
What now?
I learned, she told me she'd been a proud member of
This is a common part of the State of the Union.
known
as
as
he
Oh, yeah.
talks
Yeah,
about
yeah.
a proud American who he invited. And they're super nice, and here's the great thing they've done.
Cowboys in the sky. The folks who built Cincinnati's skyline. Sarah said she can't wait to be 10 stories above the Ohio River building that new bridge. God bless her. That's pride. And that's what we're also building. We're building back pride. Look, we're also replacing poisonous lead pipes that go into 10 million homes in America. 400,000 school and child care centers. So every child in America can drink the water instead of having permanent damage to their brain. Look, we're making sure that every community in America has access to affordable high-speed internet. No parent should have to drive by McDonald's.
Well, I thought he was gonna
to help them do their homework.
continue with the
kids.
lead pipes
Many
thing.
thousands are doing across the country. And when we
But
do these programs,
I was gonna ask,
and again, I get
was the
criticized
Flint
just like
situation ever actually resolved? Because I remember there being a
Buy
spending package for them to fix that, and then they never did.
I don't think so. I think they went around it, and it's cheaper to just
and it's totally
go around.
It's
Oh.
totally consistent with international trade rules.
But there are millions
Buy America
more
has been the law
lead
since
pipes in
1933.
the country.
Right.
But for too long, past administrations, Democrat and Republican, have fought to get around it. Not anymore. Tonight, I'm announcing new standards that require all construction materials used in federal infrastructure projects to be made in America.
It. I
Made
should have
in
bought more
America.
Cleveland Cliff stock.
I mean,
Damn it.
It's too late now.
They're rocketing tomorrow.
lumber,
Too late. Yep.
glass, drywall, fiber optic cable. And on my watch, American roads, bridges, and American highways are going to be made with American products as well. Folks, my economic plan is about investing in places and people that have been forgotten.
You know what
So many of you
the roads are made of?
I know you feel it.
Rocks
So many of
and
you
tar
feel
and
like
shit.
you've just simply been forgotten.
Asphalt.
Amid the economic upheaval of the past 4 decades,
You know what asphalt's made out of?
too many people
Tar and rocks and shit.
and treated
Oil.
like they're invisible.
Yeah.
Maybe that's you watching from home.
Not the good oil.
Remember the jobs that went away. You remember them, don't you?
Also, if you're putting it in the
Folks at
road,
home
it's not like,
remember
being burned and
Wonder
turned into
whether
carbon in the
past
sky.
even exists anymore.
The byproduct of making
For your children
gasoline.
To get ahead without having to move away.
Or actually, it's a byproduct of the refinery
That's
process
why-
that does make gasoline.
That's why
Okay.
we're building an economy where no one's left behind. Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back. Because choices we made in the last several years. You know, this is, in my view, a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America and make a real difference in your lives at home. For example, too many of you lay in bed at night like my dad did, staring at the ceiling, wondering what in God's name happens if your spouse gets cancer, or your child gets deadly ill, or something happens to you. What are you going to have? You get money to pay for those medical bills? Or you're going to have to sell the house or try to get a second mortgage on it. I get it. I get it. With the Inflation Reduction Act that I signed into law, we're taking on powerful interests to bring healthcare costs down so you can sleep better at night with more security. You know, we pay more for prescription drugs than any nation in the world. Let me say it again. We pay more for prescription drugs than any major nation on earth. For example, 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. Many of you in this chamber do, and in the audience. But every day, millions need insulin to control their diabetes so they can literally stay alive. Insulin's been around for over 100 years. The guy who invented it didn't even patent it because he wanted it to be available for everyone. It cost the drug companies roughly $10 a vial to make that insulin. Packaging and all, you may get up to $13. But Big Pharma has been unfairly charging people hundreds of dollars, $400 to $500 a month, making record profits. Not anymore. Not anymore.
We had this debate already.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Does he have a plan, or is he just going to say it? Not anymore.
We'll see.
So many things that we did are only now coming
Guess
to
not.
fruition.
No.
We said we were doing this, and we said we passed a law to do it, but people didn't know because the law didn't take effect until January.
Actually,
1.
that might have been part of the Inflation Reduction
We
Act.
capped
I
the
need
cost
to look
of
at that
insulin
again.
At
Okay.
$35 a month for seniors on Medicare.
And it's capped at 35 for seniors on Medicare?
People
Well,
are
what about
just
everybody else?
finding out.
Yeah, it's literally
I'm
just
sure you're getting
Medicare
the same
is
calls
what
I'm
the
getting.
IRA
Look,
fixed.
there are millions
Hey,
of other
less
Americans
than half-ass. That's a quarter
who
ass.
are not on Medicare, including 200,000 young people with type 1 diabetes who need this insulin to stay alive. Let's finish the job this time. Let's cap the cost of insulin for everybody at
Yeah, he
$35.
literally said, it fixes it for Medicare and nobody else.
So he'll have to get something passed, and that won't pass. What if he just built a damn factory?
Folks, the big pharma's still going to do very well.
Started producing it.
I promise you, they're going to do very well. This law also caps and won't even go into effect until 2025. Costs, out-of-pocket drug costs for seniors on Medicare at a maximum of $2,000 a year. You don't have to pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter how much your drug costs are. Because you know why? You all know it. Many of you, like many in my family, have cancer. You know the drugs can range from $10, $11, $14, $15,000 for the cancer drugs. If drug prices rise faster than inflation, drug companies are going to have to pay Medicare back the difference. We're finally giving Medicare the power to negotiate drug prices. Bringing down prescription drug costs doesn't just save seniors money, it cuts the federal deficit by billions of dollars. By hundreds of billions of dollars. Because these prescription drugs...
I'll accept the first statement. I don't know about the second.
By Medicare...
I mean, if the government pays less for those medicines, then they will
Well, guess what?
pay less.
I'll accept billions. I'd have to check on if it's actually hundreds of billions.
That's a lot
Okay.
of savings for the federal government. And by the way, why would we want that? Now, some members here are threatening, and I know it's not an official party position, so I'm not going to exaggerate, but threatening to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act. As my coach, that's okay, that's fair. As my football coach used to say, lots of luck in your senior year. Make no mistake.
Oh, he said they won't be there next year.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what's he going for? Oh, you're not going to be here next year if you do that.
Look.
Okay.
I'm pleased to say that more Americans have health insurance now than ever in history. A record 16 million people are enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. And thanks to the law I signed last year, saving millions are saving $800 a year on their premiums. And by the way, that law was written and the benefit expires in 2025. So my plea to some of you, at least in this audience, let's finish the job and make these savings permanent. Expand coverage of Medicaid.
Who wrote it to expire in 2025?
They do. Yeah, they do that in half in bargaining and half in
Let's
threats.
finish the job that we started by putting a limit to all they're going to do is push it back another 3 years so that they get another election out of it.
Right.
Lowering
I mean,
utilities.
the Republicans do that to tax cuts.
Creating American jobs.
I know.
Leading the world to a clean energy future. I visited the devastating aftermath of record floods, droughts, storms, and wildfires from Arizona to New Mexico to all the way up to the Canadian border. More timber has been burned, as I've observed from helicopters, than the entire state of Missouri. And we don't have global warming? Not a problem. In addition to emergency recovery, from Puerto Rico to Florida to Idaho, we're rebuilding for the long term. New electric grids that are able to weather major storms and not prevent those forest fires. Roads and water systems withstand the next big flood. Clean energy to cut pollution and create jobs in communities often left behind. We're going to build 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations installed across the country by tens of thousands of IBEW workers. And
I win.
we're helping families save more than $1,000 a year with tax credits to purchase electric vehicles and efficient appliances, energy-efficient appliances.
Mm-hmm.
Historic conservation efforts to be responsible stewards of our land. Let's face reality. The climate crisis doesn't care if you're in a red or blue state. It's an existential threat. We have an obligation, not to ourselves, but to our children and grandchildren to confront it. I'm proud of how America at last is stepping up to the challenge. We're still going to need oil and gas for a while, But guess
Er.
what? No, we do. But there's so much more to do. We got to finish the job. We pay for these investments in our future by finally making the wealthiest and biggest corporations begin to pay their fair share. Just begin.
What's that mean?
And tax them. Usually that's what that means.
Look, I'm a capitalist. I'm a capitalist, but pay your fair share. I think a lot of you at home agree with me and many people that you know. The tax system is not fair. It is not fair. Look, the idea
Those loopholes.
that in 2020,
Sounds like a good idea.
55 of the largest
It does.
corporations
But
in America, the Fortune 500, made
Those
$40
companies that he's
billion
talking about
in
use
profit
those loopholes.
and paid zero in
They'll
federal
close
taxes.
them.
Zero.
But then they'll say that he
Whoa.
raised their taxes.
It's simply not fair.
Then a Republican
But
will
now,
run on that.
because of the law I signed,
Joe Biden raised
billion-dollar
taxes.
companies have to pay a minimum of 15%.
And he had 2 years with the House and Senate to
15%.
close those loopholes.
That's less than a nurse pays.
And then Obama had 8 years to do that. Well,
I mean,
he didn't
didn't they
have,
scream
Obama
bloody
didn't have
murder
the House
about all
and
the-
Senate
I said
both
at the
times,
very
but
beginning,
Didn't they scream bloody murder
my
about how
plans, as
he
long as I'm
raised taxes?
president, nobody earning less than
I remember watching all the
$400,000
cartoons.
will pay an additional penny in tax.
well, the Inflation
Nobody,
Reduction Act
not
actually
one penny.
required a minimum
But let's
15%
finish the
corporate tax
job.
rate
There's more to do.
on all corporations.
Okay.
We have to do more
And I don't
work,
think
not
anyone's
just
screaming bloody
work.
murder about that.
Pass my proposal for the billionaire minimum tax. You know, there's 1,000 billionaires in America. It's up from about 600 in the beginning of the term. But no billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher or firefighter. I mean it. Think about it. I mean, look.
That one just gets an eye roll, honestly. I have to look up exactly how the billionaires are being taxed.
Think about it. Have you noticed Big Oil just reported its profits, record profits? Last year they made $200 billion in the midst of a global energy crisis. I think it's outrageous. Why?
Now he's contradicting
Because
himself.
too little of that profit increased domestic production. And when I
They're
talk
definitely
about
contradicting
nuclear,
himself.
we're afraid you're gonna
How do you
shut
figure?
down all the oil wells, all the, oil refineries
Because he's
anyway.
against domestic production.
I said, we're
He
gonna
literally,
oil
his administration literally blocks it.
and that's gonna
Makes it
exceed-
more difficult on
And
purpose.
beyond that,
Not to
we're going to need it.
raise prices.
Production.
Not to raise prices,
And
but
in
the
fact,
production is what
production
drives the
will
price.
keep gas prices down. Instead, they
He's
use
full of
Russian
fucking
buyers
shit.
They
to
drive
buy
the
back their own
price.
stuff.
I know, we've gone over it 1,000 times.
It's a global market. They don't drive the price.
That doesn't mean anything.
Corporations ought to do
They
the
just-
right
Supply and
thing.
demand drives the price.
That's
they
why I
did- they made
proposed
$200 billion in
quadruple
profit.
the tax on corporate stock
Yes, they did,
buybacks
because
to
there's not
encourage
enough supply to meet demand. You have to
long-term
produce more.
investments.
And nobody's going to produce more if you're going to get
Then-
taxed out the ass like he's telling you that they're
Then
going to be.
They're going to tax them at the ass. Yeah, that's the plan.
Let's finish the job and close the loophole.
There's no other way.
while very
That will
much
reduce
before
investment. It means he let you produce less oil.
Limiting the number of
It
oil
means that the
tax
money you spend to buy that
legislation
asphalt
ought to reduce
is going to be
tax
more
rates
because less oil means the price of oil is
$114
more.
billion by cracking down on wealthy tax
It
cheats.
says the oil
That's being
people,
fiscally
the
responsible.
oil companies who have $200 billion. Maybe I don't trust them.
In the last 2
Maybe I don't
years,
believe them.
my administration has cut the deficit by more than $1.7 trillion. The largest deficit reduction in American history. Under the previous administration, the American deficit went up 4 years in a row. Because those record deficits, no president added more to the national debt in any 4 years than my predecessor. Nearly 25% of the entire national debt that took over 200 years to accumulate was added by just one administration alone, the last one. They're the facts. Check it out. Check it out.
COVID.
How did Congress respond to that debt? They did the right thing. They lifted the debt ceiling 3 times without preconditions or crisis. They paid American bills to prevent an economic disaster in the country. So tonight I'm asking the Congress to follow suit. Let's commit here tonight to the full faith and credit of the United States of America will never, ever be questioned. So some of my Republican friends want to take the economy hostage. I get it, unless I agree to their economic plans. All of you at home should know what those plans are. Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me
Yeah, he's full of fucking shit.
Anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal.
Wasn't he supposed to be the president of Unity?
Congress doesn't vote.
Wasn't he talking about doing bipartisan stuff earlier?
I tell you, I enjoy conversion.
Fucking
Republican,
asshole.
are they trying to actually get rid of those things? They have been. They're trying to privatize them so they can steal all the money. Privatizing money would let rich people steal all the money from it.
What do you mean steal all the money?
They would take it.
The Social Security account is full of IOUs.
Right, because they've already taken it. And if they want to socialize it, privatize it, if they privatized these things, rich businessmen would take it, the stock market would dump, we would all lose our stuff, and then it would go away.
No, the Republicans are the party of cutting taxes, and the Democrats are the party of increasing spending. That's what they are. They work together to spend the money and not make enough.
Spending is necessary on these things.
As we all apparently
Medicaid,
Not all our spending is necessary. Not anywhere. We're close to our federal budget.
I think it is. If
Most
it
of it's
wasn't
not.
necessary, they wouldn't do it.
We got unanimity.
See, he just said unanimity. I don't know what he was talking about.
Unanimity after talking shit.
Millions of seniors, Americans have to pay into them.
Unanimity. I love it.
Check they started. So tonight, let's all agree, and we currently are. Let's stand up for seniors.
Because everybody in the room is a senior, yeah.
Stand up and show them. We'll not cut Social Security. We will not cut Medicare. Those benefits belong to the American people. They earned it. And if anyone tries to cut Social Security, which apparently no one's going to do, and if anyone tries to cut Medicare, I'll stop them. I'll veto it. And look, I'm not going to allow them to be taken away. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But apparently it's not going to be a problem. Next month, when I offer my fiscal plan, I ask my Republican friends to lay down their plan as well. I really mean it. Let's sit down together and discuss our mutual plans together. Let's do that. I can tell you, the plan I'm going to show you is going to cut the deficit by another $2 trillion. And it won't cut a single bit of Medicare or Social Security. In fact, we're going to extend the Medicare Trust Fund at least 2 decades. Because that's going to be the next argument. How do we keep it solvent, right? Well, we'll not raise tax on anyone making under 400 grand, but we'll pay for it the way we talked about tonight by making sure that the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share. Look. Here's the deal. They aren't just taking advantage of the tax code. They're taking advantage of you, the American consumer. Here's my message to all of you out there. I have your back. We're already preventing Americans from receiving surprise medical bills, stopping $1 billion surprise bills per month so far. We're protecting seniors' life savings by cracking down on nursing homes that commit fraud, endanger patient safety, prescribe drugs that are not needed. Millions of Americans can now save thousands of dollars because they can finally get a hearing aid over the counter without a prescription. Look, capitalism.
Sounds good.
Without competition is not capitalism. It's extortion. It's exploitation. Last year, I cracked down with the help of many of you on foreign shipping companies that were making you pay higher prices for every good coming into the country. I signed a bipartisan bill to cut shipping costs by 90%, helping American farmers, businessmen, and consumers. Let's finish the job. passed the
His bill to
bipartisan
nothing.
legislation to strengthen
His what?
antitrust
The
enforcement
bill did nothing.
and prevent
Oh.
big online platforms from giving their own products an unfair advantage.
Yeah, probably not.
Shipping costs were directly related to the shutdowns in China over COVID and the congestion in
My
shipping
administration is
ports.
also taking on junk fees. Those hidden surcharges too many companies use to make you pay more. For example, we're making airlines show you the full ticket price up front, refund your money if your flight is canceled or delayed. We reduced exorbitant bank overdrafts by saving consumers more than $1 billion a year. We're cutting credit card late fees by 75% from $30 to $8. Look,
Sounds great. It just means that credit card
junk
companies
fees
will
may not matter to very wealthy,
not give
but
as
matter to
much
most
credit
other
limit
folks in homes like
out.
the one I grew up in, like many of you did.
Mm,
They add up to
okay.
hundreds of dollars a month. They make it hard for you to pay your
If they can
bills
only
or
do their
afford
business
that
by
family
stealing from
trip.
people, I don't want them to do their
I know
business.
how unfair it feels when a company overcharges you and gets away with it. Not anymore. We've written a bill to stop it all.
Not stealing.
It's called the Junk Fee Prevention Act. We're going to
Yeah,
ban
kinda is.
surprise resort
A late fee? No.
hotels
You
charge
you
the
make an
member
agreement to
bill.
pay
Those
a
fees
certain
could cost you up to
amount
$90
on
a month
time.
at hotels that aren't even
If you fail to
resorts.
do so, you owe a certain extra amount. It's not
The
stealing.
idea that cable, internet, and cell phone companies can charge you $200 or more if
Pay your
you
shit on
decide to
time.
switch to another provider. Give me a
It-
break.
And if you can't because you're
We can
poor, you
stop
have to pay
service
more.
fees
It's
on
expensive
tickets
to be
for
poor.
concerts and
Costs
sporting
way more to be
events
poor.
and make companies disclose all the fees up front. And we'll prohibit airlines from charging $50 round trip for family just to be
When
able to sit together.
the minimum
Baggage
payment is
fees are bad enough.
$25,
Airlines can't treat your child
I have
like
to
a piece
disagree.
of baggage. Americans are
Poor
tired
people don't
of
get
being,
minimum
It-
payments
it-
of $25.
tired of being played for suckers.
They know how much you have, and they take everything you can. They can.
Pass the Junk
I don't
Fee Prevention
have
Act
much,
so companies stop ripping us off.
Respect
For
for
too long,
credit card companies, honestly.
workers have been getting stiffed, but not anymore. We're beginning to restore the dignity of work. For example, I should have known this, but I didn't until 2 years ago. 30 million workers have to sign non-compete agreements for the jobs they take. 30 million. So a cashier at a burger place can't walk across town and take the same job at another burger place and make a few bucks more. It just changed. But they just changed.
not how that
it.
works.
They exposed it. That was part of the deal.
I don't know
guys.
anything about
Look it up. But not anymore. We're banning those agreements so companies have to compete for workers and pay them what they're worth.
That has been happening over the past year or so.
Yeah, primarily non-compete agreements are for like tech companies and whatnot, where they don't want their programmers to work at two companies simultaneously because they might be in competition with one another. So they don't want their programmers taking techniques and information from one company straight to their competitor while they're still working for them.
Let's guarantee all workers have a living wage. Let's make sure working parents can afford to raise a family with sick days, paid family medical leave, affordable child care. That's going to enable millions of more people to go and stay at work. And let's restore the full child tax credit, which gave tens of millions of parents some breathing room and cut child poverty in half to the lowest level in history. And by the way, when we do all these things, we increase productivity. We increase economic growth. So let's finish the job and get more families access to affordable quality housing. Let's get seniors who want to stay in their homes the care they need to do so. Let's give more breathing room to millions of family caregivers looking after their loved ones. Pass my plan so we get seniors and people with disabilities the home care and services they need. And support the workers who are doing God's work. These plans are fully paid for and we can afford to do them. Restoring the dignity of work means making education an affordable ticket to the middle class. You know, when we made public education, 12 years of it, universal in the last century, We made the best educated, best paid, we became the best educated, best paid nation in the world. But the rest of the world's caught up. It's caught up. Jill, my wife, who teaches full time, has an expression. I hope I get it right, kid. Any nation that out-educates us is going to out-compete us. Any nation that out-educates is going to out-compete us. Folks, we all know 12 years of education is not enough to win the economic competition of the 21st century. We want to have the best educated workforce. Let's finish the job by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. Studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school and go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree, no matter their background.
I wouldn't say that's a causation.
Let's give public school teachers a raise.
I would agree with allowing preschool. I'm also fine with subsidizing preschool. I'm also I think that increasing public school teacher salaries is a great idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Increasing Pell Grants for working and middle-class families. Let's finish the job and connect students to career opportunities starting in high school. Provide access to 2 years of community college. The best career training in America, in addition to being...
I think we already had the debate on
Let's offer every American
college tuition as well, but I think that stream might have been lost.
It might have been. I'll double check it. Somebody didn't know how microphones work.
Folks,
it was me.
In the midst of the COVID crisis, when schools were closed,
We can have it again sometime.
Yeah, we can go over it, yeah.
And we were shutting down everything. Let's recognize how far we came in the fight against the pandemic itself. While the virus is not gone, thanks to the resilience of the American people and the ingenuity of medicine, we've broken the COVID grip on us. COVID deaths are down by 90%. We've saved millions of lives and opened up our country. We opened our country back up, and soon we'll end the public health emergency. But
it'll already be over.
That's called a public health emergency. But we'll remember the toll and pain that's never going to go away. More than 1 million Americans lost their lives to COVID. 1 million. Families grieving, children orphaned, empty chairs at the dining room table constantly reminding you that she used to sit there. Remembering them, we remain vigilant. We still need to monitor dozens of variants and support new vaccines and treatments. So Congress needs to fund these efforts and keep America safe. And as we emerge from this crisis stronger, we're also got to double down on prosecuting criminals who stole relief money meant to keep workers and small businesses afloat.
I'll accept that.
Yeah, that's fine.
COVID itself has mutated itself out of pandemic status. Like, it's become more virile, but it...
came to office, you remember.
Yeah.
And hopefully it won't kill anybody else. The only reason they haven't ended it yet, I think, is because it might mutate some more.
Taxpayers' dollars who were sidelined. They were fired. Many people said we don't need them. And fraud became rampant. Last year, I told you the watchdogs are back. Since then, we recovered billions of taxpayers' dollars. Now let's triple the anti-fraud strike force going after these criminals, double the statute of limitations on these crimes, and crack down on identity fraud by criminal syndicates stealing billions of dollars from the American people.
Anyone who commits identity fraud should be executed.
Executed is too much, but okay.
Look, COVID left its scars, like the spike in violent crime in 2020, the first year of the pandemic. We have an obligation to make sure all people are safe. Public safety depends on public trust, as all of us know. But too often that trust is violated. Joining us tonight are the parents of Tyree Nichols. Welcome.
What I mean by the identity fraud thing is I've had people steal a couple of family members' social security information and whatnot, and like get credit cards in their name, and that shit's a disaster to deal with.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And fuck those people that do that.
I agree. Fuck those people. Let's put them in prison. Let's make an
Kill 'em.
an ID that isn't so easy to steal as the Social Security.
Imagine having to worry whether your son or daughter came home from walking down the street, playing in the park, or just driving a car. Most of us in here have never had to have the talk that brown and black parents have had to have with their children. Bo, Hunter, Ashley, my children. I never had to have the talk with them. I never had to tell them if a police officer pulls you over, turn your interior lights on right away.
I had that talk.
Don't reach for your license. Keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Yep, 100%.
Imagine having to worry like that every single time.
I know, that's terrible. You shouldn't have had that. The police should protect and serve you.
Here's what Tyler's mother shared with me when I spoke to her. When I asked her how she finds the courage to carry on and speak out. The faith of God, she said her son was, quote, a beautiful soul, and something good will come of this. Imagine how much courage and character that takes.
Definitely weird that he
All of us.
mentioned that it's brown or black people that only have that talk, though.
It's a meme within their communities that they have to
It
explain
is.
it to them.
I mean, he's making it he makes it racial in that way, doesn't he?
I think it's.
Our children.
I mean, if you're
the problem
if you're
is
gonna advocate for justice reform,
Equal protection.
why you got to make it racial?
because it's not equal under the law right now. That's what he's talking about. It's cops are harder on black people. They just are.
Police officers put their lives on the line every single night and day. And we know we ask them in many cases to do too much, to be counselors, social workers, psychologists, responding to drug overdoses, mental health crises, and so much more. In one sense, we ask much too much of them. I know most cops and their families are good, decent, honorable people, the vast majority. But they risk
On the right, looking like a Johnny Depp right there.
No, I think it's the guy from U2. I'm not entirely sure if it is or not.
But what happened to Tyree in Memphis happens too often. We have to do better. Give law enforcement the real training they need. Hold them to higher standards. Help them succeed in keeping us safe. We also need more first responders and professionals to address the growing mental health, substance abuse challenges. More resources to reduce violent crime and gun crime. More community intervention programs. More investment in housing, education, and job training.
All 5 of those cops have been charged with murder, by the way.
Yeah,
can help
I know.
prevent violence in the first place. When police
And that's
officers,
correct
police
in this
departments
situation.
violate
I agree.
public trust, they must be held accountable. With the support of the families of victims, civil rights groups, and law enforcement, I signed an executive order for all federal officers, banning chokeholds, restricting no-knock warrants, and other key elements of the George Floyd Act. Let's commit ourselves to make the words of Tyler's mom true. Something good must come from this. Something good. And all of us, folks, it's difficult, but it's simple. All of us in this chamber, we need to rise to this moment. We can't turn away. Let's do what we know in our hearts that we need to do. Let's come together to finish the job on police reform. Do something. Do something. That was the plea of parents who lost their children in Uvalde. I met with every one of them. do something about gun violence. Thank God. Thank God we did. Passing the most sweeping gun safety law in 3 decades. That includes things like that the majority of responsible gun owners already support. Enhanced background checks for 18 to 21 years old. Red flag laws, keeping guns out of the hands of people who are a danger to themselves and others. But we know our work is not done. Joining us tonight is Brandon Say, a 26-year-old hero. Brandon put his college dreams on hold to be at his mom's side.
Let's go, Brandon.
Mom's
Yay.
side when she was dying from cancer. And Brandon now works at a dance studio started by his grandparents. And 2 weeks ago, during the Lunar New Year celebrations, he heard the studio door close, and he saw a man standing there pointing a semi-automatic pistol at him. He thought he was going to die, but he thought about the people inside.
So a pistol.
And in that instant, he found the courage to act and wrestled a semi-automatic pistol away from the gunman who had already killed 11 people in another dance studio. 11.
Are you quibbling with the
He saved lives.
description?
It's time we do the same.
Yeah.
Is he using that to scare people?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, he's saying semi-automatic so it sounds more intimidating.
How does that make it more intimidating?
And then his next line is ban assault weapons, so a semi-automatic handgun is an assault weapon, is what he's saying.
Mass shootings went down. After we let it expire in the Republican administration, mass shootings tripled. Let's finish the job and ban these.
Also, assault weapon is not a real classification.
Assault weapon is, and it doesn't matter. Even if they gave it a definition, imagine they actually got together and made a definition. They would. Gun manufacturers would just shave a quarter inch off, and it wouldn't be an assault weapon anymore. They wiggle around those rules all the time.
Seizing over 23,000 pounds of fentanyl in just the last several months. We've launched a new border plan last month.
What are you trying to say, Joe? They're not sending their best?
Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela has come down 97% as a consequence of that. But American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts. If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform, at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border.
Sounds good. At what cost?
And a pathway to citizenship for
I definitely...
Pathway and Dream, those
farm workers, essential workers.
will make people not vote for it. And then nothing gets done.
It's our duty to protect all the people's rights and freedoms. Congress must restore the right and Congress must restore the right that was taken away in Roe v. Wade and protect Roe v. Wade.
Good idea, Joe. Get it passed through legislation like it always should have been.
That's what we'll have to do now, yes.
It's what always should have happened, regardless of Roe v. Wade.
Healthcare and safeguard patient safety. Well, already more than a dozen states are enforcing extreme abortion bans. Make no mistake about it. If Congress passes
Well, he's talking about this. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
But let's also pass the Bipartisan Equality Act to ensure LGBTQ Americans, especially transgender young people, can live with safety and dignity. Our strength is not just the example of our power, but the power of our example. Let's remember the world's watching. I spoke in this chamber 1 year ago, just days after Vladimir Putin unleashed his brutal attack against Ukraine. A murderous assault, evoking images of death and destruction Europe suffered in World War II. Putin's invasion has been a test for the ages, a test for America, a test for the world. Would we stand for the most basic of principles? Would we stand for sovereignty? Would we stand for the right of people to live free of tyranny? will we stand for the defense of democracy. For such defense matters to us because it keeps peace and prevents open season on would-be aggressors and threatens our prosperity. 1 year later, we know the answer. Yes, we would, and we did. We did. And together, we did what America always does at our best. We led. We united NATO. We built a global coalition. We stood against Putin's aggression. We stood with the Ukrainian people. Tonight, we're once again joined by Ukrainian's ambassador to the United States. She represents not just her nation, but the courage of her people. Our ambassador is here, united. We're united in our support of your country. Will you stand so we can all take a look at you?
No, we're cheering for the Ukrainian ambassador.
Ah.
Because we're going to stand with you as long as it takes. Our nation is working for more freedom, more dignity, more peace, not just in Europe, but everywhere. Before I came to office, the story was about how the People's Republic of China was increasing its power and America was failing in the world. Not anymore. We made clear, and I made clear in my personal conversations, which have been many, with President Xi, that we seek competition, not conflict. But I will make no apologies that we're investing to make America stronger. Investing in American innovation and industries that will define the future that China intends to be dominating. Investing in our alliances.
You see a Maytag in the back.
Our allies to protect advanced technologies so they will not be used against us. Modernizing our military to safeguard stability and deter aggression. Today, we're in the strongest position in decades to compete with China or anyone else in the world. Anyone else in the world. And I'm committed.
It's not not a lot of competition there.
I know.
I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world. But make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
With the balloon? Is he talking about the
I
balloon?
think he's talking about the balloon, yeah.
Let's be clear.
You know, we could have shot it down
Winning the
before it
competition
reached
should
mainland United
unite all of us.
States.
Oh, we didn't notice it until
We
then.
face serious challenges across the world. But in the
Civilians
past 2
did it.
years, democracies have become stronger, not weaker. Autocracies have grown weaker, not stronger.
And they
Name
knew it
me
was
a world leader
there and from China?
who changed
No.
places with Xi Jinping.
I mean, you don't think that we detected that thing well before it reached, like, mainland United States?
I don't think they did, or they would have done it before I got here.
Food insecurity, to terrorism, to territorial aggression. Allies are stepping up, spending more and doing more.
You heard?
I think the news broke because
The bridges were forming between
somebody managed to get it on camera, like a civilian did,
those
Okay.
who bet against America
and then it became a big deal.
It's never ever been a good bet to bet against.
But there's no way the military didn't know about it.
I think they wouldn't have known it. It's entirely. I believe that they could have not noticed or missed it. But maybe they did know it was there because it happened 3 times during Trump's presidency.
No fucking way. I don't
3
believe that, and I'll
times.
debate you on that next week.
Okay, I will look at it. All I heard was it happened 3 times, and he didn't tell us. Because it's
That's
not a big
absolute
deal.
horse shit.
Because it's not a big deal.
But never believed it.
Or he just didn't want
That's why
anybody to
a year
know.
ago I offered a unity
Or they didn't know until later.
I stood here. We made real progress together. We passed the law making it easy for doctors to prescribe effective treatments for opioid addiction. We passed the gun safety law, making historic investments in mental health. We launched the ARPA-H drive for breakthrough in the fights against cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes, and so much more. We passed the Heath Robinson Pact Act, named after the late Iraq War veteran whose story about exposure to toxic burn kits I shared here last year. I understand something about those burn pits, but there's so much more to do. We can do it together. Joining us tonight was a father named Doug from Newton, New Hampshire. He wrote Jill, my wife, a letter, and me as well, about his courageous daughter, Courtney. A contagious laugh, his sister's best friend, her sister's best friend. He shared the story all too familiar to millions of Americans and many of you in the audience. Courtney discovered pills in high school. It spiraled into addiction and eventually death from a fentanyl overdose. She was just 20 years old. Describing the last 8 years without her, Doug said, "There's no worse pain." Yet their family has turned pain to purpose, working to end the stigma and change laws. He told us he wants to start a journey toward American recovery. Doug, we're with you. Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year. You got it.
Are they saying it's his fault?
No, they're
That's
saying
bullshit.
the border and
let's
that it is his
launch
fault.
a
Yeah.
major surge to stop fentanyl production and the
Yeah, that's
sale and
nonsense.
trafficking, with more drug detection machines, inspection cargo, stop pills and powder at the border. Working with couriers like FedEx to inspect more packages for drugs. Strong penalties to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. Second, let's do more on mental health, especially for our children. When millions of young people are struggling with bullying, violence, trauma, we give them greater access to mental health care at their schools. We must finally hold social media companies accountable for experimenting they're doing running children for profit. There's time to pass
Where did that come from?
bipartisan legislation to stop big tech from collecting personal data on our kids and teenagers online. Ban targeted advertising to children and impose stricter limits on the personal data that companies collect on all of us.
That was definitely a hard
Let's do more to
shift.
keep this
Yeah.
nation's one truly sacred obligation to equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home. Job training, job placement for veterans and their spouses as they come to return to civilian life. Helping veterans afford the rent, because no one should be homeless in America, especially someone who served the country. Dennis McDonough is here of the VA. We had a first real discussion when I asked him to take the job. I'm glad he did. We were losing up to 25 veterans a day on suicide. Now we're losing 17 a day to the silent scourge of suicide. 17 veterans a day are committing suicide. More than all the people being killed in the wars. Folks, VA is doing everything it can, including expanding mental health screening, proven programs that recruits veterans to help other veterans understand what they're going through, get them the help they need. We got to do more. And fourth, last year, Jill and I reignited the cancer moonshot that I was able to start with President Obama asked me to lead our administration on this issue. Our goal is to cut the cancer death rates at least by 50% in the next 25 years. Turn more cancers from death sentences to treatable diseases. Provide more support for patients and their families. It's personal to so many of us in this audience. Joining us are Morris and Candice.
This is where I'll say that they do need more federal investment in research into this.
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
Because the profits are not in curing cancer, it's in treating it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw her just before I came over. She was just a year old when she was diagnosed with rare kidney disease, cancer. After 26 blood transfusions, 11 rounds of radiation, 8 rounds of chemo, 1 kidney removed, giving a 5% survival rate. He wrote how in the darkest moments he thought, if she goes, I can't stay. Many of you have been through that as well. Jill and I understand that, like so many of you. And he read Jill's book describing our family's cancer journey and how we tried to steal moments of joy where we could with Bo. For them, that glimmer of joy was the half smile of their baby girl. It meant everything to them. They never gave up hope. Little Ava never gave up hope. She turns 4 next month. They just found out Ava's beating the odds, is on her way to being cured of cancer. And she's watching from the White House tonight, and she's not asleep already. For the lives we can save. For the lives we can save and the lives we've lost, let this be a truly American moment that rallies the country and the world together and proves that we can still do big things. 20 years ago, under the leadership of President Bush and countless advocates and champions, he undertook a bipartisan effort through PEPFAR to transform the global fight against HIV/AIDS. It's been a huge success. He thought big. He thought large. He moved. I believe we can do the same thing with cancer. Let's end cancer as we know it. Cure some cancers once and for all. Folks, there's one reason why we've been able to do all of these things. Our democracy itself. It's the most fundamental thing of all. With democracy, everything's possible. Without it, nothing is. For the last few years, our democracy has been threatened and attacked, put at risk, put to the test in this very room on January the 6th. And then just a few months ago, an unhinged big lie, assailant unleashed a political violence, the home of the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, using the very same language the insurrectionists used as they stalked these halls and chanted on January 6th. Here tonight in this chamber is a man who bears the scars of that brutal attack, but is as tough and as strong and as resilient as they get. My friend Paul Pelosi. Paul, stand up. But such a heinous act should have never happened. We must all speak out. There's no place for political violence in America. We have to protect the right to vote, not suppress the fundamental right. Honor the results of our elections, not subvert the will of the people. We have to uphold the rule of law and restore trust in our institutions of democracy. And we must give hate and extremism in any form no safe harbor. Democracy must not be a partisan issue. It's an American issue. Every generation of Americans has faced a moment where they have been called to protect our democracy, defend it, stand up for it. And this is our moment. My fellow Americans, we meet tonight at an inflection point, one of those moments that only a few generations ever face, where the direction we now take is going to decide the course of this nation for decades to come. We're not bystanders of history. We're not powerless before the forces that confront us. It's within our power of we the people. We're facing the test of our time. We have to be the nation we've always been at our best. Optimistic, hopeful, forward-looking. A nation that embraces light over dark, hope over fear, unity over division, stability over chaos. We have to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. We're good people. The only nation in the world built on an idea. The only one.
It doesn't sound true, but okay.
Other nations.
All of that rang hollow to me. So
That's regular presidential talk.
We're the only
Oh yeah,
nation based on an
100%.
idea.
Just like it's just standard procedure to, walk in and say the State of the Union is strong.
Yeah.
A nation that stands as a beacon to the world. A nation.
City on the hill. Here it
A
comes.
new age
No.
of possibilities. So I've come to fulfill my constitutional obligation to report in the State of the Union. And here's my report. Because the soul of this nation is strong, because the backbone,
there it is.
of this nation is strong, because the people of this nation are strong.
He said 3 times.
The State of the Union is strong.
4. Oh my God. If he says it more than once, that means it's even stronger, right?
Yep, called it.
I'm not new to this place. I stand here tonight having served as long as about any one of you have ever served here. But I've never been more optimistic about our future, about the future of America. But just to remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Do you want to watch the Republican rebuttal?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
I don't know where it's going to come on. Oh, Sarah. Oh.
Good old Sarah.
All right.
I don't know how long this is going to be. Is it going to be live? Oh, well, there's the pre-buttal. Where's the, I don't know, that was pre-buttal of something else.
She's going to give it.
There it is. And Republican response there on the C-SPAN.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Big John.
I'll mute it just for a minute until she jumps up there. So yeah, was there anything that he mentioned that was actually a policy, not just like a talking point or anything like that, that the government shouldn't be spending money on or shouldn't be doing? Because you talked about how much we don't need everything that's in the budget. Was there anything that he mentioned that shouldn't have been in the budget?
Nothing specifically. No, I mean everything is generalities in terms of the State of the Union.
Mm-hmm.
Although he did mention something about reducing the deficit by $2 trillion at some point, except the problem is the deficit currently is $2.8 trillion. So it's still not a balanced budget, which I would like to see. And I wonder how much of that reduction in the deficit is due to increased taxes versus reduced spending, because you need both. You can't just do one and not the other.
I recognize both would bring that deficit down.
Right.
But
so,
if the spending you're cutting is things that people need and things for the American people, I don't want to cut it. I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying I don't want to.
Sure. I mean, and there are ways to bring costs down in our budget, and he actually did talk about a couple of them, like the Medicaid negotiations and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
or Medicare negotiations, which I'm fine with. The thing is, like, you have to do both to balance the budget at this point. There's a lot of waste, which I think you might agree, and there's room to raise some taxes, yes. I just don't think it's one or the other. I think you have to do them both.
I'm okay with doing both. Where's the waste? I mean, I hear that all the time, but I don't know where it is.
With your background, I think you've seen it yourself in some cases. Also,
mm-hmm.
we fund a lot of things that are not necessary, and
Okay.
I'll point you over to, since I don't have anything off the top of my head before I
yeah, that's fine. We can bring it up later.
go ahead and research it.
Yeah.
If you ever go and what's the airing of grievances thing from Christmas?
Festivus?
Festivus, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rand Paul has a great uh, thread on Festivus every year on our government of things that we waste money on. It's great.
He, yeah, maybe. I don't trust your source. Uh, but I can. So he comes up there, or he documents
Yeah,
it
he'll
every year
say
or something like
like
that.
he does it every year. He's like my area of grievances, and then one of the grievances will be something like we spent $2.3 million on investigating the sexuality of toads
Mm-hmm.
like in the Potomac River or something
Right.
like that.
Well, that
And
was a scientific endeavor. I don't mind the government paying for
it's
science
something silly though. It's
if
always something
it's
like that. It's we spend millions of dollars on something ridiculous,
okay.
or at least it sounds ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the waste comes from bureaucracy in the first place. Just the amount of the fact that the government is spending money results in the government having to spend money to prevent people from stealing that money
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it just ends up costing so much is a major problem, I think.
Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna squeeze you for specific numbers or individual things, but um, let's imagine the government did pay $2 million to study the sexuality of frogs in the Potomac River. Um, they're the only ones that could. If I mean, there is no corporation in the world that's going to do that, right? And I've said it before. There are only two powers. There are only two ways to do anything: the government or a corporation. Um, if there's no money to be made, but you can convince the government that this study is worth something to the people.
Well, that's kind of the thing, though, is what is the study really worth?
I, I've only
Exact.
heard
Well,
you tell me about it, so I don't know
I,
if it's
well,
a,
I,
a value. It might be a value. If it's an environmental thing, then it could be a value. If uh, the frogs having bad sexuality due to something, some chemical we plumped into the water, and now there's too many mosquitoes, and now people in the area are getting uh, malaria or something like that. We don't get malaria in the country, but if mosquito-borne illnesses are increased because the frogs aren't eating them, I mean that's like an environmental kind of thing, you know. I mean, I'm going completely worst case scenario, of course. Uh, and
here's one.
yeah,
So you pull it up. If you pull up the Festivus report
hmm
from him,
hmm
um, DoD spends $28 million on camouflage that you can see. That doesn't work.
they spent 20 million to camouflage things.
Yeah.
Is
DoD
that all? Is that
spends.
as far as he goes into it, or does he have like a list that I could like look
It's
up?
a list.
Okay,
DoD spends about $200,000 on Starbucks espresso machines.
that is fine. I don't care. What's the camouflage that doesn't work? I mean, did they try a new thing and then it failed, or
Good question. Let's open it up.
because I'm gonna say right off the bat, Rand Paul is a dipshit.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I do know about that. Um, he weaseled his way into being called doctor.
Let's see. Helping illegal immigrants avoid deportation, 168 million. Overpaying government contractors for a terminated contract, 69 million. Using COVID relief funds to construct an $11,000 square foot spa, 140 million. Watching hamsters fight on steroids, 3 million.
See, that's just science right there. Watching hamsters fight on steroids? That's 100% science.
Studying the romance between parrots. 700,000.
Science. What company's going to do that? If they were in there
And
studying,
what benefit is that?
what benefit is it? That's scientific knowledge. Uh, the there is no corporation in the world that will do that. So they have to. So the government has to. If there's some benefit, they have to, ideally, and I'm assuming that somebody had a plan or wanted some sort of scientific, had some sort of scientific theory. They couldn't get it funded. They went to the government. They made a plea. They put in the paperwork. The government gave them the money. Now, if that scientific person is a liar and just squandered all the money, then then it is waste. The government can and does, I suspect, waste money. But I'm interested in where they're wasting the money.
Maintaining 77,000 empty and unused federal buildings. $1.7 billion.
That's because of COVID, isn't it? Didn't they tell the federal workers not to come to work and work from home?
Then sell the buildings.
If COVID ends and they want them to come back next year, they would have paid for that anyway. It wouldn't be an empty building if COVID hadn't happened, right? Those people
If
would
the
have been there.
job can be done, you know what COVID's benefit was it told us that we don't actually need all this office space
I agree.
because it can be done from home. And if the job can be done from home, there's no reason to make it not from home.
I agree. And I think it's puts a lot of more, and I'm a fan of that because I think it puts a lot more power and uh, importance in the hands of the workers.
100% agree.
And I'm on board for
100%.
that.
Let's sell all those buildings and stop spending $1.7 billion on maintaining them.
Great plan. The government moves slow. I know. I could see that as waste. They're worried that real estate is, a tricky market. And if they sell them now and then they need them later, they'll have to pay 3 times as much to get them later. Could you imagine that? That'll be on next year's Festivus. Rand Paul will be like, hey, we had this building, and then Joe Biden sold it,
still
and
hasn't
then
been
we
used.
bought it for 3 times as much. That's what would happen. Is it would show up back on the Festivus list. Joe Biden had a building, he sold it for for 1 million, and then they needed it later, and then they bought it for 5 million, and that's 6 million wasted dollars. And yes, that sounds like wasted money. Put somebody together, come up with a plan, get rid of some of those. That's fine with me. But niche scientific research, I'm not as worried about. Yeah, I know. I don't know that my life will ever be improved by parrot mating rituals, but somebody's might have been. There might be some
I doubt it.
scientific breakthrough there. Scientific breakthroughs show up in weird places.
Well, they do, but we generally know what species of animals most relate to humans in terms of things that affect both that species and humans. And that typically is mice.
Sure, and we know those things because we experimented with those things when they were profitable. If there's no profit in a if the government were trying to determine which soda tastes better, I would be very much against it. Because guess what? There is a company that wants to do that research for us. There is a company that will pay to figure out which soda tastes better. There's no company that wants to check the sexuality of frogs or the parrots. So, and like I said, I'm assuming somebody went to the government with a request to study a thing, and then they gave us some possible benefits that they would get from it, and then somebody agreed. And that seems fine to me. That seems like a working system. You know what I mean? But if it was just the Senator Senator Gublotz's nephew wanted $2 million, and he said, "Yeah, I'll put these parrot in a cage, and you just give me $2 million." Then that's terrible and a waste of money.
I don't know if that's the case either.
Yeah, I
Honestly,
know. And I'm going both. I'm going to both extremes. One, these parrots are going to cure AIDS, and two, it's just the senator's nephew who just wanted money. Uh, those are the far ends of the spectrum that I can see. Changing subject slightly, I should watch all these. How to get your first 1,000 subscribers? But there's,
I'm gonna tell you to make better thumbnails.
I know, but there's millions of them. And then maybe I should just start one that says, maybe I should uh, a title bait or something like that. How did you
Careful of
get your?
the analysis paralysis there too. You don't want to be the guy that watches 100 videos on how to get your first 1,000 subscribers and then never does anything to actually do it.
Oh, I know. I'm not really taking any of it seriously at the moment. But yeah, I do need better thumbnails. The thumbnails are not that good because editing is hard. Then Photoshop is hard. It's not that hard, but it just takes time. Um, but there are millions of these videos, and I think I just want to make them and give bad advice. How to get your first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube? Murder human beings on camera.
No, 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 no.
No, that won't work.
It's find people that are already dead and film them on live stream.
There you go. Dead streams.
Just like
Dead
Jake Paul,
streams.
in that Japanese forest.
Dead streams. Okay. All right. I've seen the hot tub streams and recently the sleeping streams. Uh, so maybe we could do a dead stream.
Once we have enough content out, we could create an AI stream.
Yeah, I'm interested in that too.
We can train an AI to respond in ways that it thinks that either of us will, and then have the AIs debate each other.
7 minutes until it goes transphobic. Uh, just because that's the latest one. The Seinfeld one got taken down for that. Did you see that?
What?
The Seinfeld AI.
Oh.
Okay, so they fed all of Seinfeld into an AI, and it actually started making pretty good jokes. But then after a week, it said something transphobic, and they had to shut it down.
Wow. I'm sure I'll see something about that up across my YouTube feed at some point.
Yeah.
I think I did see an AI got canceled. That must have been the one.
But hey, it wasn't Nazis this time, so maybe we're making steps forward.
Speaking of being canceled in relation to trans things, J.K. Rowling has a new game out.
I know. I've never been a big Harry Potter fan, but I mean, it looks okay. The idea is sound of Harry Potter. Wizard School, very fun. Could be very cool to go to. I mean, we already have Ninja School and Superhero School and Mutant School and Japanese high schools are in JRPGs, so like I would play it. Wouldn't have an issue playing it. She's a shitty person, but go ahead.
I think what interested me was the fact that there was this huge movement, at least on Twitter and whatnot, where they were talking about how everyone should boycott the game, to show Rowling that her views are not acceptable and whatnot. Because if you buy the game, then you're telling her that that her views are right. You're validating her views.
Nah.
And yeah, I straight up disagree with the premise of that boycott in the first place. But then, of course, everybody, even the ones that said they would boycott it, ended up buying it.
Yeah, and I figured they would. I mean, Twitter's not a real place. It's not a, and it doesn't have that many people. Um, it's just that that's where all the loudest people go. If you're loud, even a little bit, you're on Twitter. Um, so everything sounds louder there. It's not a representation of reality, honestly. That's why I don't go there. That's why I'm not gonna go there.
The funniest thing is not funniest. It is kind of funny. I'll say funny.
Yeah.
Um, there is a character in the game who is trans.
Mm-hmm. That's
Ex-
that's great.
Except for the fact,
Oh yeah.
it's great. Except for the fact that they just had a dude voice the character.
It does kind of suck that they couldn't just find a trans person talking to a microphone. I mean,
You
honestly,
would think,
they're all on YouTube, right? Um,
like, it's so bad.
uh,
And then all the people that said they were going to boycott the game got angry because they bought the game anyway.
and
And then
then
this.
there's a person there who is not trans speaking for trans. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is crappy. And I mean, they could have done a little bit better, but um, I'm gonna keep watching and buying things, even if it's found out that the people suck afterward. I
Well,
know that
it's, I
that
mean,
sounds
it's the same for the left and right, I think.
yeah.
It's, I mean, like, how many, how many people after the whole, like, Colin Kaepernick thing in the NFL were like, oh, I'm never turning on another NFL game. Next week, they're watching the fucking NFL again.
Or they bought products to burn. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
They
Like
burn their products and probably replace them a year later.
yeah,
You know, like,
they had
that shit never
a
works.
thing they already paid for and then they destroyed it, and then they have one less thing and then they need to go buy another thing. Um, Pretty wild. If I mean
Oh,
who?
is this a rebuttal?
No. This is the C-SPAN guy.
Oh, okay.
He's probably just going to talk about it for a minute. But we don't need his opinion. We have our opinions.
Yeah.
Thought the response started right away. Um,
Usually it does. Did we miss it? Oh, also a C-SPAN lady?
yeah, that's not Sarah. I'm just going over tweets. See, that's the thing that kills me. Look at this. The most important news people in the world are just reading other people's tweets. That's insane. There's
Man,
the
that
old
tweet is
Maytag.
bullshit.
I didn't read it. Uh, let's see if. Hey, I'm
Hey,
live
it's you.
streaming. Hot damn. I'm a
You must be
cool
at the top of
guy.
the
I'm on
algorithm
the
there
I'm
to
on the front page.
look at that. Oh, upcoming. So it still hasn't started.
Ah, okay.
It's in half an hour?
Oh God. Ugh,
Holy shit.
30 minutes. Good Lord. Well,
Well,
what
damn,
if
we
it's
got
half
time
hour
for a debate.
from now or half an hour from when the thing ended, which was 15 minutes ago?
No, it said at 8:15 our time.
Oh, 8:15. Damn. Okay. That's fine. If
That's
you're up
fine.
for it, I am.
I am too,
If you
except for the fact that I
wanted to take off,
have
yeah.
had progressively more drinks, and that means I progressively have to pee faster.
Okay.
Oh, I'll be back in a
Okay. Go
minute.
ahead. I'm still going to watch things from bad people. I know Joss Whedon got in trouble recently, but I'm still going to watch Firefly. It's still good. Um, I don't. I'm gonna every time Sarah Huckabee Sanders says a thing that isn't real, I'm gonna point that out. I'm gonna be like, not real, which I think is gonna happen a lot. Did she record it earlier? Then why can't we see it yet? So we're just covering tweets. That's what the news is now. Just tweets. And they wonder why nobody believes him anymore. But let's see. Check on this. See what this cool guy's up to. One watching now. It's probably me. Yeah, it's me. That's okay. I need the practice. Oh, maybe it's starting soon. Oh, there she is. I'm going to turn it on.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Being a mom to 3 young children taught me not to believe every story I hear.
Did it start already?
So forgive
Yeah,
me
all you
for
missed
not
was
believing much of
she's a mom of
anything
3 children.
I heard tonight
Okay.
from President Biden. From out-of-control inflation and violent crime to the dangerous border crisis and threat from China. Biden and the Democrats have failed you. They know it, and you know it. And it's time for a change. Tonight, let us reaffirm our commitment to a timeless American idea that government exists not to rule the people, but to serve the people. Democrats want to rule us with more government control.
He doesn't have
That's not
any
who we
charisma.
are.
Oh God.
America is the greatest
Yeah.
country the world has ever known because we're the freest country the world has ever known, with a people who are strong and resilient. 5 months ago, I was diagnosed
He's like the
with
female
bladder
Marco
cancer.
Rubio.
It was a hard time for our family, particularly our kids,
It's like
Charlotte
robotic.
and George. But we kept our faith
Well, she's got to be
and persevered. Thanks to exceptional doctors
acceptable
here in
to everybody.
Arkansas, a successful surgery, and the grace of God, I am cancer-free. Through it all, I couldn't help but think about my mom. She was 20 years old and in her first year of marriage when she was diagnosed with spinal cancer. The doctors told her she might not live, and if she did live, they said she'd never walk again. And if she did walk, she'd definitely never have children. The daughter she was told she'd never have was just sworn in
How much did she have to
as
pay
the
for
new
that?
governor of Arkansas and is speaking to you tonight.
Not much more than a
Adversity
copay.
and fear of the unknown can paralyze us, but faith propels us to charge boldly ahead.
This is a
We
mistake.
can't stand still in the face of great challenges.
What, Faith?
You and I were put on this earth for
Her
such a time
and
as this.
the thing she's talking about.
Charge boldly ahead. I'll be the first to admit, President Biden and I don't have a lot in common. I'm for freedom, he's for government control. At 40, I'm the youngest governor in the country. And at 80, he's the oldest president in American history.
Except for the last one.
I'm the first woman to lead my state. And he's
No, the last one was
first
74 or
man to
whatever.
I know,
surrender
so he's
his
only older
presidency
than
to a woke
one of
mob
them.
that can't even tell you what a woman is.
No, he's older than
He
all
is
of
the
them.
oldest in
I know.
history.
He's the oldest in
Who
history,
left
yes.
America? Washington taxes you and lights your hard-earned money on fire. But you get crushed with high gas prices, empty grocery shelves, and our children are taught to hate one another on account of their race, but not to love one another or our great country. Whether Joe Biden believes this madness or is simply too weak to resist it, his administration has been completely hijacked by the radical left.
Not real.
The dividing
I am
line
the
in
radical
America
left. He's
is
not far
no
enough left for
longer
me.
between right or left. The choice is between normal or crazy. It's time for a new generation
Normal.
of Republican leadership.
This shit was written
Taking
before
office
the
just a few
actual
weeks ago,
State of the Union.
I signed
Yes.
executive orders to ban CRT, racism, and indoctrination in our schools. eliminate the use of derogatory term Latinx in our government.
Yeah, did you hear about that?
Repealed COVID orders and said never again to authoritarian mandates and shutdowns. Americans want common sense from their leaders. But in Washington,
None of this
Biden
pertains.
administration
No,
is
it
doubling
doesn't.
It's not a
down
rebuttal.
and crazy.
No, it's
This
not.
is
President
the
Biden
worst mistake I've
inherited
ever
the
seen.
fastest economic recovery on record. The most secure border in history, cheap, abundant, homegrown energy, fast rising wages, a rebuilt military, and a world that was stable and at peace.
Yeah, you got 3 out of
Christ.
6 there.
None of that was real. I
Democrats
don't think any of it was.
destroyed it all. Despite Democrats' trillions in reckless spending and mountains of debt, we now have the worst border crisis in American history.
They say that
As
every
a
single
mom,
time.
my heart
It's progressively worse, so I'll
lost
say
a
true.
son or daughter to addiction. 100,000 Americans a year are now killed from drug overdoses, largely from fentanyl pouring across our southern border. Yet the Biden administration refuses to secure the border and save American lives. And after years of Democrat attacks on law enforcement and calls to defund the police, violent criminals roam free, while law-abiding families live in fear. Beyond our border, from Afghanistan to Ukraine, from North Korea to Iran, President Biden's weakness puts our nation and the world at risk. And the president's refusal to stand up to China, our most formidable adversary, is dangerous and unacceptable. President Biden is unwilling to defend our border, defend our skies, and defend our people. He is simply unfit to serve as commander-in-chief.
She's talking about the balloon too.
And while you reap the consequences of their failures, the Biden administration seems more interested in woke fantasies than the hard reality Americans face every day. Most Americans simply want to live their lives in freedom and peace. But we are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never
Oh,
wanted to
lying
fight.
bitch.
Every day we are
Jesus.
told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols, all while big government colludes with big tech to strip away the most American thing there is, your freedom of speech.
She
It's not normal.
stops people from using the word
Crazy.
Latinx.
And it's
We
wrong.
can't use it
Make no mistake.
In public schools?
Republicans will
in
not
the government and
surrender
in public
this
schools.
fight.
Yeah, you can't use it.
We will lead
She's
with
stopping you
courage
from saying it.
and do what's right.
No,
Like-
she isn't.
Politically
Yes, she
correct
is.
or convenient.
You're being silly.
Republicans believe
She
in an
passed that
America
law.
where
She
strong
bragged about it.
families thrive in safe
Go to Arkansas and say Latinx
where
and see
jobs
if
are abundant and paychecks are rising,
anything happens to you.
where the freedom our veterans shed their blood to defend is the birthright of every man, woman, and child.
Still,
These
terrible
are the
fucking
principles
speech.
Republican governors are fighting for, and in Washington, under the leadership of Senate Republicans and Speaker Kevin McCarthy, we will hold the Biden administration accountable.
No, you won't.
Down the street from where I sit is my alma mater, Little Rock Central High. As a
Don't care.
student there, I will never forget watching my dad, Governor Mike Huckabee, and
Dipshit.
President Bill Clinton hold the doors open
Rapist.
to the Little Rock Nine. Doors that 40 years earlier had been closed to them because they were black. Today, those children once barred from the schoolhouse are now heroes memorialized in bronze at our State House.
And if they're Republican, they're going to keep
I'm
trans
proud
kids
of
from
the
coming in.
progress our country has made. And I believe giving every child access to a quality education, regardless of their race or income, is the civil rights issue of our day. Tomorrow, I will unveil an education package that will be the most far-reaching,
Oh, God.
bold, conservative education reform in the
Conservative
country.
education reform.
My plan empowers parents with real
Well, we have something to talk
choices,
about this Sunday.
improves literacy and
Oh,
career
Saturday.
readiness,
Yeah.
and helps put a good teacher in every classroom by increasing their starting salary from one of the lowest to one of the highest in the nation. Here in Arkansas and across America, Republicans are working to end the policy of trapping kids in failing schools and sentencing them to a lifetime of poverty.
School choice.
We will educate, not indoctrinate our kids, and put students on a path to success.
Come on, you gotta at least praise the raising teachers' salaries.
I do like
This
that.
is our moment.
But it'll
Why
make...
didn't you say so?
This is our
Oh, okay, sorry.
opportunity.
I wrote it
A new
down.
generation born in the waning decades of the last century, shaped by economic booms and stock market busts, forged by the triumph of the Cold War and the tragedy of 9/11. A generation brimming
What
with
the fuck?
Not a
passion
Republican
and
speech
new
without mentioning
ideas
9/11.
to solve age-old problems. A generation moored to our deepest values and oldest traditions, yet unafraid to challenge the present order and find a better way forward. If we seize this moment together, America can once again be the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Oh my God.
During my 2.5 years at the White House, I traveled on every foreign trip with the president. A trip I will never forget was on December 25th of 2018. My husband Brian and I had just cleaned up wrapping paper that was shoved into every corner of our house, thanks to our 3 kids. When I had to walk out on my own family's Christmas, unable to tell them where I was
This isn't
going
a
that
rebuttal.
night,
This is the State of the Union, but the Republican version.
they didn't
This
want
is
anybody to know
like,
that the president was going to be on
this
the
isn't,
ground.
hey, Biden said he was going to do this, except for the fact that he did X, Y, Z. No.
We boarded Air Force One.
This is,
in
I'm going to
complete
tell my
jungle
American Patriot story.
There were no lights.
I fucking hate it.
We
no
did
lights
Christmas.
on the runway.
Take that, liberals.
Our
We
phones
put
and
lights on the
computers
runway.
Shut down and turned in. We were going completely off the grid.
What for?
Nearly 12 hours later, in the pitch black of night, we landed in the war-torn part of western Iraq. It was again a similar scene. No lights on the plane, no lights
What's
on
her
the
point?
runway.
You
The
went
only
dark.
thing you could see was coming from about a mile away. In a dining hall were hundreds of troops who were in the fight against ISIS.
Oh, I
Gathered
remember this.
expecting to celebrate Christmas with senior military leadership from around the region. They had absolutely no idea that the president and first lady were about to walk into that room. And when they did, it was a sight and a scene and a sound
To behold.
I never forget.
Oh, damn.
Room
Thought I was predicting words.
Men and women from every race, religion, and region, every political party, every demographic you can imagine, started chanting in perfect unison over and over and over again, USA, USA, USA. It was an absolutely perfect picture of what makes our country great. One of the young soldiers yelled from the back, "Mr. President, I re-enlisted in the military because of you." And the president said, "And son, I'm here because of you." Shortly after, that young soldier
Worst
came up to
idea.
me.
Worst reason to re-enlist
He
ever.
said, "Sarah, you have a tough job." I told him, "What I do is nothing. You take bombs and bullets. That's a tough job." And in a moment
What I
that
do is
never
nothing?
cherish for the rest of my life,
Same for most politicians. Good job.
soldier reached up and he pulled
Yeah, she was the
rifle's patch he wore on
Press
his shoulder,
secretary or something like that.
and he placed it into my hand, a sign of ultimate
One of many.
respect. And he said, "Sarah, we are in this together." Overwhelmed with emotion and speechless, I just hugged him with tears in my eyes and a grateful heart for our heroes who keep us free. That young man and everyone who has served before him, all of those who serve alongside him, and the thousands we know who will be called upon to serve after him, deserve to know they have a country and a community back home doing our part in the fight for freedom. America is great because we are free. But today, our freedom is under attack, and the America we love is in danger. President Biden and the Democrats have failed you, and it's time for a change. A new generation of Republican leaders are stepping up, not to be caretakers of the status quo, but to be change makers for the American people. We know not what the future holds, but we know who holds the future in his hands. And with God as our witness, we will show the world that America is still the place where freedom reigns and liberty will never die. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America.
Unless you want to say Latinx in a classroom.
And
You don't
Sarah Huckabee
have the freedom to
Sanders,
say
the new
that.
governor of Arkansas.
And that's the only point I'm trying to make. I know that you're still allowed to like say it when you're walking down the street or in your home, but if the government says government workers aren't to use this and schools aren't to use this word, then that's not a freedom of speech. That is a severe limitation.
I mean, look, the government determines the speech of government workers. Yes. That's how it is at every level. Okay?
What
a
other
federal worker
what
that
words
says
do they say you
something that
can't
is
use?
Do you want a list?
Well, I know there are things that will get you in trouble, but
That will likely get you fired or demoted at the very least in the federal government.
okay.
And I'm sure that there are some that I'll say justifiably can can do that very easily.
But this word right here, I'm looking at the dictionary definition for it.
Here's a screwdriver back.
Thank you. A person of Latin
Can't do
American
without that
origin
screwdriver.
or descendant used as a gender-neutral, non-binary alternative to Latino or Latina. This is their problem with it. You can't use this word because it's connected to gender-neutral or non-binary. And she, as the governor, has used her position to say, my government and my workers will not use this because it's gender neutral and non-binary. It's connected to trans people. Therefore, she does not like it. And so she used her government power to get rid of it. This isn't a slur word. This isn't the N-word. This isn't something that someone is using to harm people. But she doesn't like it. And the Republicans don't like it. So they got rid of it. Because Republicans are anti-freedom.
I don't like it because it's stupid.
Well, I don't
Take
get to
the sentence
choose whether or
below.
not it's stupid.
Take the sentence below, the quotes on that same definition, or the definition below it.
Hmm.
A person of Latin American origin or descent, right?
Hmm.
She started a mentorship program to address the underrepresentation of Latinxes within the company.
Uh-huh.
How about this is novel and uncharted waters here.
How about
She started a mentorship program to address the underrepresentation of Latin Americans within the company.
there aren't any Latin Americans in England? This is, similar to
A
African.
Latinx is specifically, according to that definition, a person of Latin American origin or descent.
Right. But what if they were born in England? They're not Latin. They're not
And they're English.
American. I know. Well, there aren't any African Americans in England. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm getting at? There are black people in England, but there aren't African Americans in England. This is just a use of a language that I don't find offensive or problematic. If the community of people don't like that word, then let's get rid of it. If they think this is a bad word, this is not okay. It happens with the word retarded a lot. Some people use it a lot. It gets used a lot. The word back in the 90s when
Guilty.
gay was everything that we, oh, that's so gay. And it meant it as a pejorative. If those people say, hey, please stop doing that, that's not good, you're harming us, then I would stop doing it. But the governor of Arkansas says you can't use that word? No. Fuck her. She's being anti-First Amendment by doing so. And
My argument on the First Amendment
Mhm.
is not whether the word itself is good or bad. It's a matter of government workers have to abide by certain rules. And if the rule is that you can't say Latinx, then you can't say Latinx. Sorry. But it's not, but that's the same as any other
she's
word that gets banned in the course of government work.
no, they get
Now, you
banned
can
because they're
disagree
harmful. They
with
get banned because they're harmful and they're hateful. This one isn't harmful and hateful, except to, except I'm telling you, I'm telling you what she's thinking, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think she just doesn't like gender neutral and non-binary. The Republican Party is constantly thinking about trans people. It's in their brain all day long. They can't stop thinking about it. And they found this word and they said, no, we ain't going to do it. And instead of
See,
just saying, hey, we
you
don't
and
like
I
it.
don't have the same separation in our brains then, because
Hmm.
for me, I just won't say any word that like I'm told to not say in the course of doing my job,
I dig that.
right?
And I
So
understand
if
the
they say
idea.
don't say Latinx, then I just
Great.
won't.
Then you won't say it.
That's it.
That's
If you're a
fine.
government worker, that's what's expected of you.
Okay. What is the First Amendment supposed to protect our freedom of speech from? The government.
Okay,
This
but
woman
when
is the
you are part of
governor.
the government, that's a little bit different.
When you're part of the government, that's a little bit different. Uh, she has authority over the government. If she had authority over more of the government, she would push this to more of the government. And then she would push more uh, anti-free speech legislation.
If and now if she pushed a law that said that corporations are not allowed to use the word Latinx in their discourse,
She would if she
daily
could get
discourse,
away with it. If she
but
could
she
get it
can't.
passed, she would. If she could,
But she
she would.
can't
Because
because that is where free speech comes into play.
so if she pushes it to
If you're a government worker, whatever the government says you can or cannot say is what you can or cannot say. You give
and,
up certain rights by being a government worker. It's just how it is.
and I recognize the idea. I appreciate that. There are certain things we don't want them to do. And I think that the things we don't want them to do are harmful or derogatory. But this isn't harmful and derogatory. This is the, I don't know, how is this? I was about to compare this to Jordan Peterson because he threw a fit because the government told him he had to use gender pronouns for people. And he threw a fit and got famous by saying he
But he
wasn't
wasn't
going to
working
do
for the
it.
government though
I
of
know,
Canada.
but the government was passing a law.
So they were passing a law about the speech of private individuals.
They were passing a law about non. Uh, they were passing a discrimination law. They were updating their discrimination laws, which exist. They exist within America as well, discrimination laws, and it included uh, the chosen pronouns of the people. And if you, uh, as a class of discrimination, but I'm thinking if this compares to that as like the exact opposite. He was throwing a fit because he wasn't going to be compelled to say certain words. But this is a government saying that its workers can't say these words. So it's not quite compelled speech. It's just, it seems like a pointless restriction. Is there a purpose to it? Is there some sort of benefit that our government has now that those workers can't say this word?
Oh,
Then why is she doing it? She's taking away the freedom of people for no benefit.
oh yeah.
At At best.
Well, hold on. Let me
That's
go.
what she's doing.
All
At
right.
best.
So let's go. Let me go a step further then.
Sure.
It's not the fact that this is a thing that is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that you have is the motivation for it, right?
Well,
It's
I like freedom, and I see her as taking it away. Like
I don't
literally.
view government workers as having freedom because government workers operate under a different set of rules in the nature of being government workers.
Okay.
So I will say that her motivations are wrong,
Okay.
and those motivations have influenced the decision to ban the word Latinx for government workers.
Mm-hmm.
But government workers themselves are compelled to follow the rules
Mm-hmm.
that exist for what they can and cannot say. So I have a separation there. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
I can see that, and I recognize that you give up certain. Uh, Everybody gives up something uh, in exchange for other things. I mean, you give up your time for a paycheck. You give up your effort and your labor to a company who then pays you for that. That's fine. If you give up you give up some autonomy and some freedoms that you have uh, to work for the military or the government, obviously. And what I would hope is that the people in charge of that recognize that and respect it. I don't think she's doing this to make her government better. I think she's doing it specifically for discriminatory purposes. I think she's actually discriminating. She's actually doing something that, uh, because she doesn't like gender neutral people or non binary people, she does not want to give them respect or decency. But, again, I've heard that Hispanic people don't actually like it. So now there's just now, and it's mostly a
Well,
Twitter thing. It's mostly a Twitter thing. I've never used the word
well,
before now. You've never used the word before now. But because she's on Twitter, and Twitter has such a stranglehold on every political person and every news reporter in the world, and every uh, what's the word social media thing in the world, it becomes a big deal.
well. See, here's the thing, though, is that I have used the term before,
Okay.
and that was before I realized that I could substitute just using the word Latin
Hmm. I think
without the X.
I think that sounds fine too.
Now, I think the motivations are. I'll agree with you that her motivations are wrong because she's an idiot.
Do you think she's
Um,
doing it to as a slight towards trans people or non-binary
Probably,
people
yeah.
or gender neutral people?
I disagree with the idea that it's an affront to free speech. That's where
Okay.
my primary
Okay.
disagreement with you comes from.
Okay. That's fine.
Um, because of my separation between free speech and government speech.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean Latin is just fine, right?
I think so too, and I think that if that were
So
the term there, she wouldn't have banned it. So yeah, there's. I guess that's the question, isn't it? If she, I mean, we can't know what could have or would have happened, but so it might not be worth going down. But if she is okay with Latino and Latina, but she is against the X. I mean, I think it
what
proves that
if?
she's doing.
Well, I feel like I think in terms of the syntax,
Mhm.
my argument is that I find the X unnecessary because I proposed Latin American or Latin as the alternatives to Latinx.
Mhm. State documents. Okay. Maybe it's not schools.
And in state documents, Latinx doesn't make any sense because in that case, you definitely can respect, you can say Latin or any of those, Hispanic, etc. Latin American.
Okay.
So if people even see or even use it, 23% of Latino adults in the U.S. have heard of the term, and of that, only 3% use it.
I know.
Nobody fucking
That's
says it.
that's
Who
fine. I
cares?
don't.
It's a
It's a right wing person telling me what I can and can't say. That's why it bothers me. The idea. I know it is just a small, tiny 3%, very unusual idea. It's very tiny right now. It's only in Arkansas, but the government suggesting what is okay and what is not okay to say is in their documents is a it's that first drop in the bucket. It's the lightning rod, maybe. It's the I'm getting my metaphors all mixed up here. It's the first shot across the bow. You know.
I think it's just stupid.
Sure, they came for the stupid, and we said nothing because we weren't stupid.
And they came for the smart, and we said everything because we're smart.
But it was too
It
late.
doesn't make
They
no.
came and got us anyway. There's nobody left for us. They came for us because we're smart, and there was nobody left to stand up for us. That's how the thing goes. That's the thing I'm worried. I am probably overreacting. Feel free to tell me that I'm overreacting.
I'll refrain for now because
Okay.
I do think that the policy itself, I mean, it's stupid. Like, there's
It,
no reason why
which part is stupid?
Latinx, the whole
She should
banning
not.
Latinx
Okay.
thing.
She should
Like,
not have done it because
why
it
would you do
doesn't
it?
help. Okay.
Well, because it's a political stunt. Does it make sense? No. Does it actually do anything to help your constituents? No. It's a it's a political move. It's
It's
something to
a
drum up support. It's stupid,
virtue signal.
and it's yeah, it's a right wing virtue signal,
Okay.
and it's dumb. If it was me,
hmm
um, oh god, I'm about to be labeled as dangerous.
Okay.
Um, if it was me, then I would start making fun of people for saying Latinx instead of Latin or American Latin or Hispanic,
hmm
and make it so that people that say Latinx are um, a joke. And yeah, I would definitely change things in public documents to not use Latinx, and I would say Hispanic or something along those lines. But uh, if I really wanted to get rid of that terminology, then it would just be if you say Latinx, you're just dumb because we have so many other words to do
Okay.
or
And
to use. I'd never ban it outright though.
okay. And what was the? Let me see. What else did she say? Uh, a culture war that we didn't start. Fuck that. The right wing absolutely started the culture war. The war on Christmas started on Fox News 20 years ago.
I refuse to have that debate because it's a
I know.
chicken and egg.
Well, no. Okay, you don't have to have the debate, but I'm suggesting that the culture war is entirely produced by the right to get to virtue signal to create more of these style of virtue signals. Um,
I reject your assertion, and that's about it.
that's about it. Okay. Well, um, that was the only thing that really bother. Oh, school choice. You brought up school choice too. That seems like a dumb idea.
It's a great idea.
To uh, how is it a great idea?
School choice.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it a great idea?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I went to a shit school,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have liked to go to a good school.
Hmm.
And the reason that I couldn't go to the good school was because I was promised, or my parents were promised school choice, and they got fucked out of it because the government sucks balls. And yeah, that's why.
And if school choice means all of the uh, poor people can't leave, either because they don't have that gas money to go to a farther away school, or they don't have uh, or the parents are both working and they don't have time to drive children to a school that is 2 hours away instead of one that's 10 minutes away. That leaves that school high and dry. That leaves that school with only the poor people. It creates a class system. It creates a lower tier and a higher tier class system. And then they would, and then the school that you choose is the one that your tax money goes to. Now that poor school with very few people in it suffers even more. And then usually school choice is tied to some sort of crazy ass fucking voucher system, so the kids can go to private schools for with coupons, which is insane. Uh,
Well, my district was actually characterized by public school choice,
mhm. And
and
okay.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that the town I grew up in also had one school, literally one. There was no choice. If you wanted another one, you had to drive half an hour to the next town over. A lot of
Well,
the
we
middle
did
of the
have
country is that way, and that doesn't isn't going to solve anything for them. In the middle of the country, where they're having in Arkansas, I'm going to suggest that in Arkansas, if they have low test scores and stuff like that, it's because they're not putting money and good teachers in. It's not because the school is failing and you need to go to a different one. That's insane. Make that shitty school better.
well, in terms of school funding, I will say that school funding should not be based on property taxes, which it currently is. Most schools in the country are funded by property taxes,
Mm-hmm.
and that necessarily means that a school that is funded by an area with much higher property prices
Mm-hmm.
is going to have a lot more funding, and I disagree with that policy.
Should be a statewide thing. Every school gets the same amount, depending on the number of people going there.
Yeah, yeah, it should be
That
per
makes more
student.
sense to me as well.
Yeah. Uh, so I'll agree that school funding is not appropriate right now,
Mm-hmm.
because if you have a school that is primarily funded by the low income housing versus a school that's primarily funded by the areas that are very high income, then yeah, you're going to have a disparity in the schools. Whereas if you have it statewide, then you'll have schools that are funded uh, equally across the state according to the property tax. But I also think that the property tax should not be a factor in funding the schools.
Mm-hmm.
I think the schools should come from a state budget and should be distributed roughly evenly according to the number of pupils.
Okay. Um, yeah, generally, what I'm worried about, again, I might be overreacting, but that school choice is leads to those bad schools failing more, and then Republican lawmakers saying, "Hey, these terrible schools don't work. We need private schools," and then they own stock in the private school, or they're paid by the private school, or they monetarily uh, benefit from more kids in private schools. And the poorest don't get to go to private schools. And we'll give some of them some vouchers and some coupons. It'll be fine. Maybe they can scrape together enough, but honestly.
I think that private schools popularity comes from the the fact that they are less bound to the state curriculum.
Right, because most of them are religious as well.
Right. And that has some to do with it, but I mean, I've got friends that went through private school, um, that yeah, it was religious, except for the fact that a lot of people that went there or that sent their kids there weren't actually religious.
Mm-hmm. That's
Um,
that.
they send them to private school because there's a better quality of education and
Well, of course there is.
there's a different
It's funded.
curriculum.
There's because it's funded.
I've also seen my share of people that went to those private schools and then ended up flaming out way worse than a lot of people that I went to public school with. So there's that too. That probably has to do with experiences in the home.
That's going to be the same for everybody, but once you start talking, things change if you're talking individual or at demographic level numbers and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, bad speech by her. I mean,
I thought it was horrible. Didn't address anything that Biden actually said.
not a
There were
not a
times
rebuttal
where,
like you said. Yeah,
yeah, there were times where she said something that was contrary to what Biden said, but then it was just she said something contrary to it and then didn't say why.
right. He raised the deficit in the budget, but he said he lowered the deficit in the budget.
Yeah, so
One
how
of
is it
one of
that
them is incorrect.
I would,
And I
if you're going to
honestly
do a
don't know
rebuttal,
which.
right, exactly. It's like if you're going to do a rebuttal, then pick a few pick a few battlegrounds
Hmm. A few
and
things he said.
then
Yeah.
yeah, pick a few things and have you should have a team of like 100 people while the speech is going on that are sitting there watching it and like no, this is that, this is what, like here's how he's wrong, 1 2 3, and then put together a speech. And she obviously read her whole speech off a teleprompter anyway,
Hmm.
so throw it all together as fast as you can and then have her read that shit.
Yeah.
And you have a rebuttal. It's great. Perfect. But I hated the rebuttal speech. I mean, I think I might have interrupted the rebuttal speech almost as much as I I interrupted the actual State of the Union.
Right. It was so
And
much shorter too.
it was so
Well,
much shorter. Like, uh,
um, okay. Fun times. It was. It's been a few hours now. Uh,
yeah,
we did our first live stream to a live thing. Very fun.
that was cool.
Um, I'm just gonna throw the whole thing up on the channel as a video. Um, and I guess I don't think I'll put a thumbnail on there. Maybe I'll just do the last, but no, it doesn't make any sense. I'll put the whole thing up. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just leave it in the live streams. I don't know. But if this is a video and you're watching it, you should subscribe to my channel. We're going to have a very exciting time when we get to double digits. One of these days.
So what topics did we talk about potentially discussing on Saturday?
This coming Saturday, I don't know. But she said she was about to unveil some sort of education reform.
We can talk about that.
Arkansas.
And I actually have a couple of links from yesterday and today that I'm sure you'll bring up anyway,
Arkansas
because you're
education.
so on the election train right now.
Yeah, when I get
But I'm prepared for them, just so you
okay,
know.
good. Yeah, if you feel free to send
Um,
me links. Usually I'm just when I get bored in between work stuff, I look at my phone and then it tells me things, and then uh, I don't
just
watch
know
any
if you bring it
sports.
up, I'll be ready for it.
And the the three Trump balloons, is that fake news? Because it very well could be. It's just that I flew over it
I definitely want to talk
for
about
like
that.
two
Yeah,
seconds.
the balloons I want to talk about
Okay.
because it's either one of two things,
Hmm.
and in either case, uh, it's bullshit.
Okay.
So
Because we
the
all know
Trump
how.
balloons I want to talk about.
Okay. We
I
want.
want to talk about. I definitely want to talk about oil
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. It is the most important resource on the planet, so I don't mind talking about it
because,
often.
well, yeah, I mean, Biden's State of the Union definitely upset me on
Okay.
that topic.
Okay.
In case you hadn't noticed when he brought it up,
Yeah, he mentioned it, and you said he was contradicting himself. So I'd love to hear how, and that's fine. He very well could have been, but I don't know. Um, so balloons, oil, Arkansas education review, uh, and there is, of course, Mr. George Santos, um, and
more with
Ron
him.
DeSantis. I don't know. I haven't seen
Oh,
anything, but God, he's going to be. It's going to be 9 more stories before Saturday about him. Uh, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen anything new yet, but uh, he he could possibly start some wars or uh, face down some more tanks before then. Saturday's a long way away. But yeah, any links you want to send me, send them my way. And if you're watching this as a video, then become a subscriber. It is what
all right.
all the cool kids are doing. And that's it for us tonight. As always, thanks for coming. I always like talking to you. And good night.
Good night.